Yo, what's up, everybody? What's good? Sorry for the wait. Just trying to get a couple of things together before I went live. What's happening, everybody? Shout out to everyone that's in the chat already. Peace, peace. Please hit the thumbs up. Do me that favor, real quick. Hit the thumbs up if you are new. Subscribe to the channel. I wanted to talk about the fight card tomorrow. Xander Zayas is going to be facing Jorge Garcia. And it's a pretty good card. A lot of up and coming, a lot of like young talent is going to be on the card. I feel like that's what Top Rank is really all about. It seems like there's a pattern with Top Rank in the most recent years. It feels like all of the prospects and stuff that go on there, and then at some point they look for bigger and better things, and they start searching for other promoters. And but I feel like a lot of these guys are, built up over here at Top Rank. You know, these cards with a lot of, I mean, they're active cards. What I like about Top Rank is that the fighters are really, really active. Seeing these guys, like, how many times have Xander Zayas been on the same card with Shoot Carrington? You know what I mean? Seeing Rohan Polanco on a lot of these cards too. There's a lot of you got Juan Manita Lopez, the son of Juan Ma Lopez, is on his card. We've been seeing him. We've been seeing Emiliano Vargas on his card. So on these cards. So there's a lot of fresh talent on this card. I'm gonna go through some of these fights. Some of these fights are actually pretty closer than, I think there's opportunities for maybe one or two upsets here, but some of the fights are just young, fresh talent that are fighting journeymen, and they're showcase fights. There's a few of them on here where I'm not going to really be going through breaking them down. But there's a lot of unknowns here, but a lot of these guys I'm familiar with. So when I saw the card the other day, I knew I was going to get on here and go live, especially because I will not be here live tomorrow. I will not be live tomorrow. Okay. I see you guys' comments. I'm going to get to them in a second. Just give me a moment just to start out things. I will not be live tomorrow. I understand there's a Clarissa Shields card as well. I won't be live tomorrow. I won't be able to do any boxing unless it's in the morning. I might drop some new content in the morning, but I will be gone the majority of the day. I have a bunch of family stuff to do, so I'll be running around. All right. All right. Shout out to everyone that's here. Pepino, I see you. Philly Trees. Who else is here? Tycoons, what's up? Yvonne, hey, what's up? What's up, Beast? What's good? I see you in here. AO, what's up? Hectic Boxing, what's happening with you? High Top, what's good? Jake, what's up, Jake? What's good? Pepino says Tony Harris is making a comeback against Edward Diaz tomorrow too on the Shields Daniels card. He's negative 2,000 with over 2 years in inactivity. I saw that. I did look at that maybe a day or two ago. I did notice that. And I mean, it's not a bad bet. I don't know where Tony is at this point in his career, but it can't be that great, at this point with the inactivity, the losses and everything. All right. What else? What's going on? All right. Yeah, Top Rank definitely has the best prospects. All right. So yeah, I wanted to get on here and just chop it up. I felt like it was a good reason to jump on and do live. I was gonna do like a breakdown for this main event, but I was like, nah, I could go on live. Like, it's nothing that serious. It is a championship fight. I did make a video the other day on 154. I don't know if you guys saw it, but basically I broke down this division, right? Why? Because it's like one of my favorite divisions. And I just feel like there's so much talent at 54 right now. You don't really, a lot of fights should just be getting made. You know what I mean? There's no unified champions. And then you have names. You got guys that's from 47, guys like Errol, who's inactive, Keith, who's been inactive, Jamel, who's been inactive, but they haven't retired. So Xander Zayas, I don't know how long he can make weight. at 54. You know, I did see the weigh-in. You know, his face starting to get that skeleton, skull look, like he's just sunken in. I don't know if that's going to be an impact on the fight tomorrow. It could be, but we'll see tomorrow. I mean, I've seen that with a lot of fighters, and it didn't matter at all. I saw it with Devin Haney in a couple of his fights at 135 before moving up, where he looked like a skeleton. Yet he still fought well and strong at 135. So, you know, I'm looking forward to the card. All right. All right, so let's start. Let's go through the list of these fighters here. Now, there's a debut tomorrow. Julius Ballo, all right, national championship winner. It's his pro debut. I haven't actually seen him fight. He's fighting a guy, Brandon Ayala, that's 2-0. Not familiar with these guys like that. So I can't really give you any input on that fight. But I was able to look him up and read up on him a little bit, and we'll just see tomorrow. But it's a pro debut on Julius Ballo, for Julius Ballo tomorrow. Juan Manita Lopez. All right, Juanma Lopez, the son of the Puerto Rican fighter. He's going to be on the card. He's 2-0. Okay. I remember covering his fight not too long ago on one of my lives where he just knocked this guy, laid him out. He definitely has power. I seen his so he's being promoted by Miguel Cotto. A couple of these guys. You got Jan Santana. He's being promoted by Miguel Cotto as well. Cotto actually shows his cards on his YouTube channel. Okay. So I was able to see Juanma Lopez's Juanmanita Lopez last fight. And it's a pretty funny fight. It's only a 4-rounder. It's like a split decision. If you go to the channel, right, it's a recent video. It shows the entire card. Juanmanita gets knocked down in like 10 seconds, right? Not even, maybe like 5-10 seconds. He gets dropped, right? He tried to make it seem like it's a push, but it wasn't a push. Like there was a punch that connected. And then I think the guy name was Torres. And then in the very next moment, he drops his opponent, but they don't count it as a knockdown. So it's just a wild fight. He's fighting a Puerto Rican fighter tomorrow night, Jorge Gonzalez. I'm not familiar with him, but I know a lot of these Puerto Rican cats got a lot of power. One thing I noticed about Juan Manita is that his chin is way up in the air. So when I was watching his most recent fight and they're trading, he's just swinging with his chin up. It's like not tucked at all. He's not blocking. He's not, he doesn't have his hands up in between. He's not leaning back. He's not doing anything. So I'm like, all right, the kid got power for sure. But hopefully, I'm not familiar with his opponent. But his chin, I don't like that. That's something that they might need to work on. And no disrespect to his pops. Juanma Lopez was a very good fighter. He gave us some good moments, but the chin wasn't the greatest. All right. He had crazy power. We all know he was a prospect at the time. Him and Gamboa was coming up at the same time. Everybody was, looking forward and anticipating that fight. And then he started taking some massive losses. All right. So at the end of the day, that's something that they need to work on. He definitely has some power, but again, I didn't have time to check out. Again, this is a whole card, so I was able to navigate through some of these fights and some of the names I'm familiar with, and some of these guys, because a lot of these guys are on other top ranked cards. So I've seen a good amount of these guys, but at the end of the day, I haven't got a chance to look at like Jorge Gonzalez. Like I don't know. He's 5-2. He's from Puerto Rico. I think he has 4 knockouts and his 5 wins or something like that. So, definitely worth checking out. I'm definitely going to try to follow Juan Ma's son just because of he's his son. You know what I'm saying? Um, this fight is in New York, by the way. It's in New York. Um, it's in the Madison Square Garden Theater. All right. So when there's a Puerto Rican card, there's a lot of Puerto Rican fighters on here. There's a lot of there's a few Dominican fighters as well. So all right. Then you got Emiliano Vargas, who's the son. We've seen him a bunch of times. Like he's just been knocking out guys crazy. He's very, very good. He's fighting at 140. He's going to be fighting an older dude. I think the guy is 34 years old, Alexander Espinoza. Not familiar with him. He's 20. He got 20 wins with 3 losses, only like 9 knockouts. I'm expecting this. I mean, the way Emiliano has been, the guy actually has size on him. But the way Emiliano has been lately, he's just been like he's been knocking guys out crazy. So I'm not expecting anything different unless I see it or unless he steps up in opposition again. These are just fights that's gonna just keep gaining him some sort of experience. At some point though, he should be getting close to. I know he's only had 14 pro fights, but he's probably gonna start getting closer and closer to getting some top contender fight at some point. 140 is a tough division. There's a lot of people there. So he's looking good, but we still haven't seen him, at the higher level. At some point, we're probably going to have to see him against a top 20 fighter, you know. So we just got to wait and see for that. But this is going to be another showcase fight, in my opinion. All right. Another showcase fighter is Steven Navarro. He's another young, fresh prospect, undefeated. He's going to be fighting Christopher Rios. I'm not familiar with Christopher Rios. He's 11-2. But Steven Navarro, I've seen him. He's a southpaw, kind of long, rangy fighter, but good power, good boxing skills. It's another showcase fight for another prospect. Again, top rank to me is the best when it comes to building a fighter. You can say what you want. You can feel any right way. I know there's a lot of promoters out there. I just believe that top rank, this is where you want to be when you want to stay active. I mean, again, their deal with ESPN is about to end. But when you want to stay active, I think top rank is where you want to be as a young fighter. You know, I hate when I see young fighters that haven't been, boxing for that long as a pro, and they're going long periods and stretches without a fight. You know what I mean? Top rank at this level is where you want to be. Um, Now, when it comes to the highest level, yeah, there could be some issues there when you want big fights with other promoted fighters. That's where the trouble becomes, gets there. We seen that with Crawford when he was there, trying to get the fights with the PBC, couldn't really secure them over there. They kind of froze them out. Shakur Stevenson, he had some issues, and Teofimo Lopez has had some issues. But when you're ranking up to the title position, I think top rank is where you should want to be. I think they're the best at that. And Steven Navarro, Emiliano Vargas, Juanita Lopez, all of these guys, Rohan Polanco, Xander Zayas, Bruce, Shushu Carrington, you know what I mean? All of these guys, we've been watching them for the last couple of years just build up their resume, you know what I mean? And just get to the very, very top, you know. But yeah, Steven Navarro, his opponent, him and his opponent are both from LA. They're from the LA area. When I always see that, I feel like these guys probably sparred together. Maybe they didn't, maybe they did. I don't know. But I see when people are from the same city, there's probably some background. Maybe they have gone a couple rounds with each other in the gym. All right. Now let's start getting to the real fights. All right, the real fights here. All right. We're gonna start out with Yan Santana. He's from the Dominican Republic. He's gonna be fighting out Aaron Alameda. Alameda. Now I'm familiar with Aaron Alameda. Yan Santana, who is the prospect here, he's 14-0, undefeated. From DR. I've seen him once. He's also promoted by Miguel Cotto. But he's from DR, not PR. He's good. He's explosive. There's definitely some leaky defense there though. Aaron Alameda, he's been in there. Who he's been in there? He been in there with Louis Neri, and he's been in there with Angelo Leo. I don't think I've seen a Neri fight, but I definitely seen the Angelo Leo fight, and that was a good fight. That's a very good fight, and I actually think this is a very good matchup. And I know Santana is a huge favorite, but this is one of the fights that I'm not sure if I'm gonna put money on. I'm gonna think about it overnight. Maybe tomorrow, if I get some time to watch a little bit more of these two, I might drop a little bit. I think Aaron Alameda is a plus 400. Okay. I think he's a plus 400. So even though Santana is the favorite, he's the undefeated fighter here. He likes to throw combination. He lets his hands go. Alameda is a guy that likes to counter in between your punches. He's good at that. If you watch, go online, at least watch the Louis Neri fight. Oh, not the Louis Neri. Well, I didn't see that one. Maybe watch that too. But watch the fight with who's the other guy? Angelo Leo. Angelo Leo fight. If you watch that fight, Angelo likes to let his hands go. He's pretty, pretty high volume, very intense fighter. Alameda was countering him with some big shots in between his punches. And that's why I'm saying I'm kind of thinking about maybe putting a little bit of money down on this guy. Only because I don't know if Santana, I don't know where his chin is. I'm just thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. If I make some last minute bets for tomorrow, then I'll probably post them on the Instagram account, like in the stories. Maybe I'll do it before we go to cards. But that's one that I'm thinking about as far as an upset. I think that's one. But it's a good fight. It's a good matchup, regardless, right? What do you guys say? AO says, Ralph says, yes, Yan Santana's my boy. Big step up for him now. Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. What are you guys saying? AO says Zayas has experience to overcome, but if he boxes smart and keeps his distance, yeah, we'll talk. I'll definitely talk more about Zayas in a minute. What's up, Rocket? He says, what's good? Do you think Zayas looks super drained at the weigh-in? Yeah, I think he did look a little drained at the weigh-in. I did say that earlier in the video. But we'll talk more about that, right? Lance says, "What's happening? Wait, what's up? What's up? What's good with you?" Um, yeah, we'll talk more about Zayas in a minute. He's gonna be last. I'll talk more about him a little bit later in this live. All right. So yeah, that's a good fight. Actually, the last four fights are good fights. Uh, so another one. Uh, no, you know what? Let me do Bruce Carrington first against Matthias Hayda. All right. Matthias Hayda is from Africa. He is from Namibia. Okay, I'm not. I know it's Africa, but I'm not from it. But he's an African fighter. There's only a couple of videos, there's short clips of him. They're not the greatest quality videos, and they're not the greatest quality fights. Hayda has some experience. He's got 14 wins, 9 knockouts. He's 27 years old. Um, Not at the highest level, all right, but I don't think Bruce Carrington has fought the best. Namibia. You said Namibia. So why does it spell differently on BoxRec? All right. I've heard of Namibia because a couple of the fighters that's been on other cards is from there, but on BoxRec it's spelled differently. It says Namibi, like BIE at the end. All right. Um. Anyway, I seen Hayda. I'm not really seeing anything special about him. Bruce Carrington actually had a really tough fight a couple fights ago against Sagawa. All right, another African fighter. Um, but that guy was really good. Like he was a southpaw, speed, slickness, counter puncher. We watched that fight. I don't know if we watched that fight. Maybe we didn't watch the fight live, but I seen it and I wasn't sure if Bruce won that fight. I figured he was gonna get the gift win, but I'm not saying he won the fight. I'm not saying he lost the fight, but I'm not sure if he won neither. The guy seemed to be outworking him. Bruce had a lot of issues in that fight, but this guy here, Haida, uh, I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing anything special with him. Now, this is for the WBC Interim Championship, okay, at 126 at featherweight, and currently Stephen Fulton is the champion up there, and I think Bruce is going to take care of business here. I don't know if he's going to stop him. Bruce got power, he got pop, but he's not like, I wouldn't call him a KO artist. I think he's, I would call him a boxer puncher, maybe. I would call him a boxer puncher, but I don't think he's like a KO artist. But I don't see anything in Hader that I feel like is going to be a threat. Again, he has a couple of fights on YouTube. Uh, that's just about it. I think Bruce Carrington may stop him. I don't know how durable Hader is. But I think Bruce is going to win the fight. I don't see when I see in the opponent. I mean, he's an orthodox fighter. He's not. I don't see what I saw in some of the other opponents that Bruce has faced. Even though Bruce hasn't faced the top tier fighters, I think some of the fighters that he fought can box a little bit better than Matthias Hader. This is the co-main event. Again, this is a WBC interim title shot. This brings him even closer to fighting Stephen Fulton. So he's getting there. He's at the point now where he is a contender. He's right there to get a title shot. He's been calling out all of the champions at 126. But we just got to wait and see. Espinoza, he says he says he wants Fulton. Excuse me. So we just got to wait and see. But I have Bruce Carrington winning this. I think he's going to stop him. I think he's going to stop him. And if there's money in that, let me see if there's any money in this fight here. Bruce Carrington is a minus 8,000. You get minus 800 if he gets him out of there. All right, so they know that Bruce is most likely going to knock this guy out. You get plus 490 if he goes to distance. So let's just say if Hader actually has a good chin, there's a possibility that this might go to distance. But based on what I've seen, I think Hader is actually I think Bruce has already fought maybe a few guys that I thought was a little better than him. All right. But Bruce by KO is going to be my final prediction for that. All right. Now, let's get down to what I think should be the real co-main event. Rohan Polanco against Quentin Randall. That is a good fight. That's a very good fight. This is a big step up for Rohan Polanco. All right. I don't want to say a big step up because he did fight Fabian Maidana in his very last fight, who just fought for a title. All right. Quentin Randall is a hard guy to make a pick for. All right. Prediction wise. I did do a prediction video back when he fought Brian Norman Jr. I know I was a little bit torn. Yes, I picked for Brian Norman Jr. to win, but I wasn't too sure. Quentin Randall is tall and he has very, very long arms at the division as a welterweight. All right. And yes, he's 15-2. He does have a loss against, how do you say this name? Gore Uretzian. I might be saying it wrong, but I didn't watch the full fight. I did find a highlight video of it. So I saw some clips of that fight. It was unanimous. It was a UD for Uretzian. But I didn't watch the fight. Okay, I just saw a highlight video, and it was a very choppy highlight video. But the Brian Norman Jr. fight, I did see. And even though I thought Brian Norman clearly won the fight, Quentin Randall is one of those fighters that takes away, he sucks the air out of the fight. You know what I mean? He is one of those really actually has a good jab. Um, he throws his right hand. He doesn't throw many combinations, but he has very good timing on the right hand. He actually likes to lead with it. He likes to throw it on your way in or on your way out. You know, he throws the right hand in the most unexpected times. And when your guy like Rohan Polanco, who's fighting on the outside, who's very explosive, and he's coming in, but he's using that shoulder roll from the outside and stuff, I can see I'm gonna expect Polanco to get hit with some jabs and hit with some right hands on his way. I could see it happening. He's gonna get hit in this fight. He's definitely gonna get hit. It's just that Quentin Randall is not the biggest puncher. You know what I mean? He's not. He only has 3 knockouts in his 15 wins. Um, so I'm not expecting him to hurt Rohan Polanco, but I am expecting one of this. I think this is going to be another fight where it could either end this way. You know, first of all, I don't think Rohan's going to knock him out. I think if Rohan does knock him out, that would be a huge statement. I think a couple of you guys were leaving comments earlier, asking me if Rohan is going to knock him out. I'm expecting Rohan to win on points. That is what I'm expecting. Um, Let me see where they have him at on. See where they have him at. Rohan Polanco. They have him as a negative 1600, and by KO is plus 140. So there's an opportunity. The decision is negative 140. You know, plus 140 if he gets the KO. I I see Rohan Polanco winning on points. It can either be clear or it can either be a not so clear gift type of decision too, because quitting it's not an easy fight. I think it's very difficult. I don't think it's difficult to beat quitting. I think it's difficult to really look good against him though, if you get what I'm saying. You know, again, Quentin has those really, really long arms. He has a very good jab, good timing, and he moves very. I don't think he over moves. You know, again, I know there's gonna be opportunities for Rohan Polanco to get him on the ropes, and that's where he does some of his best work. That's what he did his best work against Fabian Maidana. But I think Quentin Ramno defensively is a little bit better than Maidana. But offensively, he's not a big puncher. You know what I mean? He doesn't trade too much. Um, you know, I don't know. I just think that I think Polanco's gonna win because he's gonna be more active, but he's gonna struggle and he's gonna hit a lot on his way in. And I think people are they're gonna watch the fight and they'll be like Polanco's getting hit a lot. You know what I mean? But he's gonna be winning the fight. You know, I just think that's the way the fight is going to go. You know, but if he is able to stop Quentin Randall, that would be a very very good. It would be a good win for Rohan Polanco. You know, at 147, again, there's not a lot of talent there. There's not much talent. Polanco's already, or at least on box rank, he's number 6. And we already know Boots is moving up. This division is wide open. I just think that this division is open for anybody to really take over. You know, Brian Norman Jr. is being viewed as the best fighter at 147 right now. And outside of him, Devin Haney's moving up to fight him. But outside of that, I mean, you have Jack Catterall, you know, you got this guy that just fought Barrios, Mario Bar. Yo, Mario Barrios as a champion. I don't know if I ever. We know that BoxRec is not official. We know it's based on like some kind of point thing system that they have, right? Mario Barrios as a WBC champion is ranked at 21 on BoxRec. That's how low of a champion that they view his. I know a lot of the wins and losses is based on the point system is based on the performances, like the draws, the is it by KO and the level of the fight. To be a champion and being ranked at 21 is wild. Jin Sasaki is ranked above him. Jin Sasaki, that just got knocked out by Brian Norman Jr., is ranked above him on BoxRec. I mean, again, BoxRec is not official. Uh, it is official when it comes to records, but as far as ranking, it's not official. But that's a pretty crazy stat. I mean, I'm seeing guys, Alexis Rocha is ahead of him. Karen Zhukajan is ahead of him. Giovanni Santillan is ahead of him. Like, they have Barrios rated at 21, which is crazy, you know. But anyway, I got Polanco winning, but if I had to put money on it, I would pick the decision. I think that's the safer pick if you're trying to make some money. Just because Quentin Randall has not been stopped. He did face Brian Norman Jr. Brian was very aggressive in the fight, but he didn't have any. I didn't see any real opportunities to like get a stoppage there. I mean, I just didn't see it. Hold on. All right. All right. So yeah. So I got Rohan Polanco on points. So let's talk about the main event. All right. Let's talk about Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas. He's going to be fighting against. He's going to be fighting against Jorge Garcia. And Jorge had just beat. He had just beat Charles Conwell. And I've done fights videos on 154, breaking it down the division. Charles was one of those guys that I just never was really sold on. All right. I was never really sold on him. So when he lost to Jorge, I did watch the fight. I wasn't really that shocked, you know. Charles Conwell was just one of those guys that was moving up. He was definitely a contender, but out of the guys at 54, I just would never mention him in like the top 10. You know what I mean? I just didn't see anything special about him. So when he lost to Jorge, I watched the fight. Jorge is a very tall guy at 54. I think as far as height and length, he's probably only second to Sebastian Fundora. But there's some similarities things there. Like I don't think he's as rangy as Fundora. But when I say the similarities is there, I think on the inside, that mid-range inside, that's where he does something. I know he has really long arms, but he does some good inside work. I like his chopping right hand. He throws a lot of chopping power shots. Like he comes down with it. He like loops it downward. Also, he is a very good body puncher. That can be a huge problem for Xander Zayas. That could be, depending on how long this fight goes. If Xander starts out very, very fast and keeps that pace going, then it might not be that much of a problem. But with length, and if Jorge is consistently attacking the body of Xander, that could be a problem later on in the fight for Xander. Okay. But Jorge, again, very long arms, doesn't have the speed and the overall athleticism as Xander Zayas. All right. Good puncher. I wouldn't say he is a good puncher. All right. He is a big puncher. So he has power. but he doesn't have the speed to go with Xander. I don't think he has a defense neither. I think Xander is a better defender. But Jorge, again, he's got size. I saw the weigh-in. Xander looks like he's struggling with the weight a little bit. All right. I cannot see him. I can see him maybe in one or two more fights at 154. And then maybe he might have to go to 160. The thing is, I don't know if he's going to do that. All of these names is at 54, right? But Jorge definitely has a shot. One thing I think his biggest strength here is the body punching, the work that he does to the body. Again, I don't think he's going to be very slow compared to Xander. I think Xander has a good amount of advantages going into this fight. Like Xander, first of all, let me just say this. I think out of the young up and coming Puerto Rican fighters, I think Xander to me has shown to be he's been the more consistent. I think he's the most talented out of all. You know, there's been a lot of fighters over the year that's been coming up, and I think from Puerto Rico or or has Puerto Rican descent. I think that Xander is the best one right now. What I like about Xander is that he's very fundamentally sound. Um, he's disciplined. I don't feel like he forces the knockouts. He boxes to the knockout. I say that all the time. Some of these fighters, they have power. He boxes to the knockout. He's not a huge puncher. 21 wins with 13 by KO. But I think he's the most disciplined fighters from Puerto Rico that I see out of everyone right now. I think obviously you got Sabrio Matias, who's not as young, but he's been around. But Sabrio Matias, very, very effective with his style. Uh you got Oscar Collazo, who's good. Down at minimum weight, he's a good fighter. You got Henry LeBron, who I really, really like. He's good. And of course, you got Edgar Belanga. But I think Xander Zayas I think he's the most promising out of everyone. But yeah, fundamentally sound, good jab, good defense, smart, very polished fighter. Like when I see him, he looks like he's always sharp. You know what I mean? Um, I really don't have many flaws. I mean, he can do everything well. He moves well. Like he's a thinker in there, but he's very fundamental, nothing flashy. Like I think Xander would have more issues against a more unorthodox fighter. You know what I mean? Like someone that does things that's a little bit outside of the technical stuff. You know what I mean? At 54, the Virgil Ortiz fight would be a very good fight. Um, but someone like a Sebastian Fundora, very unorthodox because of his length, his height, and stuff like that. That's what I mean about guys like him, or guys that even though Keith Thurman is older, he's older, so maybe that's not the best example. But when I'm just talking styles here, I think a guy like Keith Thurman, maybe a younger version of him, would have been problematic for Xander because he's so explosive. You know what I mean? He moves so well, and Keith throws punches from the outside, hard shots from different angles. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of fighters that I would see Xander having an issue with. Now, one issue I think could be an issue is he drained? You know, how if he fighting a guy that goes to the body pretty well, like Jorge Garcia, is he going to struggle a little bit? He could struggle a little bit here. Or maybe he's just looking drained at the fight, but he's going to be fine tomorrow night. A lot of guys look drained at the weigh-in, and then on the fight night, they look great. We just gotta have to wait and see. I think Xander Zayas is the better talent. I know Jorge is a good fighter. I know he beat Charles Conwell. I know his fights or his losses are close losses, but I think Xander, to me, is the better talent overall. I think and I think he's better than Charles Conwell. You know, I saw the Charles Conwell fight. I think from the inside, Xander is better. I think from the outside, Xander is better. I think he has more power. I think he's just. I think the timing is better. I think he's better overall than Conwell. So when we say that, yeah, Jorge may be a live dog, and I think that's the only other fight in this card here that where we got like a live dog. I think the other fight is the Alameda fight. Um, but I think Xander is better, and I think even though we've seen Jorge give Conwell a tough fight and beating him as an underdog, I think Xander is different. You know what I mean? I think Xander, if he does loses to anyone in this division, is going to be against the top tier champion type guys. Maybe a Fundora, maybe a Virgil Ortiz Jr., maybe a Boots Ennis or something like that. I can't see. I got Xander winning this one. I'm gonna lean towards Xander winning. It's how is he gonna win is the question. How is he going to win against Jorge Garcia, who's never been stopped? You know, some people are expecting a stoppage here. Jorge's has four losses. He's never been stopped. Not saying he can't be stopped, because one thing we gotta understand when fighters are stepping up. And oh, by the way, how did I forget? This is a championship fight. I didn't even break all of this. There's a backstory to this. This is for the WBO title. This is the title that Sebastian Fundora won when he was unified for a short period of time when he beat Tim Tszyu. When he beat Tim Tszyu, he won the WBC and the WBO title. Okay, because I think damn, I forgot. All right, but anyway, Sebastian Fundora won the title. He had both titles. But instead of fighting Xander Zayas for it, right? Because Xander was already the Mando, he ended up fighting Tim Tszyu in his rematch that we saw last week. And the title became vacant, which is why it's available now. So I think this fight was supposed to be Xander Zayas against Charles Conwell for the vacant WBO strap. But Charles Conwell lost to Jorge Garcia. So now we got Xander Zayas against Jorge Garcia for the WBO. So now we're gonna have the 4 champions at the division. I believe the other champions are we got Bakram, we got Fundora, you got Xander, or the winner of the site, Xander or Jorge. And then I think, is Terrence Crawford still holding a title? I'm not sure. IBF is Bakram. WBO, yeah. So we have Bakram as a champion. Fedora is a champion. Oh, the WBA. Oh, the WBA is not here. I forgot. WBA, it's on. It's not even on. It's not on BoxRec anymore. All right, but let me see who's a champion up there on and super welterweight. It's still it's showing. They have Yoenis Teles as the WBA interim champion, but they still have Terrence Crawford listed as the WBA world champion. So I really don't know. All right, but that's how it's looking right now. But regardless, who cares who's champion right now? This is a loaded division. You know what I mean? And there's so many good fights here. Again, I made a breakdown the other day. Even without the champions, you still got a lot of tough guys there. You know what I mean? So this should be a good fight. This could be, I mean, this could be fight of the night. I think there's a few fights here that has all the ingredients to being fight of the night. I think this could be fight of the night. I think the Jan Santana Alameda fight could be fight of the night. Um, yeah, I think it could be one of these two fights. Rohan Polanco, Quentin Randall. I don't think it's going to be fight of the night, but I think it could be a tough fight. All right. Um, but yeah, FC says, can you see many similarities with Cotto Margarito style wise and Arsenal wise besides their nationalities? Uh I can see it a little bit. And, if you're talking about the main event, yeah, I can see it a little bit. You know, um, Jorge likes to throw down, and Cotto likes to box a little bit more. I do see a little bit in Cotto and Xander. You know what I mean? I do see a little bit in it. I see a little bit there. I think that's a fair comparison, FC. I seen your comment, by the way. You left me a comment on one of my videos, and I thought it was I think whatever most recent comment you left, I think it was a very well, I think it was a comment about Muhammad Ali and this whole Usyk stuff that's going on social media. I believe it was you. If it was you, um, that was a great comment. I don't know if it was you though. I think it was you. All right, but yeah. Ralph says, Cotto throws less. Yeah, Cotto throws a little. I think Xander is a little bit more active than Cotto, but I see some similarities there. I mean, they're both really, really good boxers. And Cotto. Cotto's one of the greatest from Puerto Rico, all time. But I do see some similarities there. And I see some similarities there with Margarito. Margarito, Ralph says Cotto throws less, and Margarito throws more than Jorge Garcia. Margarito was a very high volume puncher. You know what I mean? Um, so I think there's similarities there, but um, I guess it's a pretty fair comparison. And it's always good to make that the Puerto Rico versus Mexico thing. But this is gonna be in New York. So in New York, there's a big Puerto Rican following here in New York. You know. All right. So I mean, that's my breakdowns. I got Xander Zayas winning this one. Uh I don't know if he's gonna win by knockout. I'm kind of leaning more towards the decision win. I like the decision win better. Let's see what they got it as. They have it for now. They have it. mm, Xander is a negative 450. Jorge is a plus 310, which is not bad. Um, Xander Zayas by KO is a plus 330. So they're really not expecting Xander to win by knockout. I'm not neither. But I also know that when guys have to step up, and this is a title shot, and this is what I was going to say before, especially recently, it seems like all of these fighters, when they step up to their best opposition yet, their biggest test, a lot of these guys have been outperforming themselves on the biggest um uh the biggest fight on the come up. That's when they really show what they can really do. And this could be really one of those moments, where Xander might come out and be dominant, or it could be one of those moments where, I think Xander is going to be winning the rounds. I think early on, Xander is definitely going to be winning the rounds. Against he has the speed advantage. I think the variety of his punches, his sharpness, his defense is better, counter punching everything. But where I want to see is if Jorge can take him to deep waters and maybe drown him later, especially with the body work that I'm expecting him to do, but we'll see. Again, I'm expecting Xander to win on points. I think that's the safer pick. And that's what I'm going to stand on. I think Jorge is definitely a live dog. The win against Conwell was a good win, but I don't think Conwell is as good as Xander. You know, I don't want to say he's now on his level, but I don't want to say that I don't think Conwell is good like Xander. You know, when I just watched the Conwell fight again the other day, and I was like, yeah, Xander is better than this guy. You know, he's going to be more problematic for Jorge um, than Conwell was. All right. All right. So listen, that's the end of this live, man. It's going to be a quick live. I just wanted to break down this card. I'll probably be dropping a video tomorrow. There's a couple of topics that I want to discuss, but I won't be live tomorrow as far as like covering the fights tomorrow night. Again, I know Clarissa Shields has a card on the zone. She's going to be defending her heavyweight championships. There's going to be some people on the undercard there. And then you have this card on ESPN later that evening. Again, not a lot of huge names on this card, more up and coming prospects, young talent. But it should be a pretty solid card, and it's going to be some sleeper fights on this card. Okay, maybe even a couple, one or two upsets. We'll see. All right. So anyway, again, thank you guys. I know we got a small crowd tonight, but thank you guys for checking in. Please hit the thumbs up if you can on your way out, and I will see you guys on the next video. Y'all have a good night. Peace.